So in this video, I'm going to show you the best settings and key bindings you can have in CS2. This video is mostly aimed at beginner to intermediate players. However, more advanced players who just haven't optimized their settings may still benefit from this video. Now, before we get into everything, I just want to say this one quick thing. When I give advice, this is for everyone, okay? This isn't everyone but you. A lot of newer players somehow think they are special at the game and things don't apply to them. But if you just take the time and adjust your settings to match these, or at least come close to them, you will get a benefit from these, okay? They're not going to rank you up from level 3 to level 10, but they will make you just like 1 or 2% better, which will help you in the long run. Okay, cool. Now, the first thing we're going to get into is our sensitivity. And what matters with our sensitivity is the EDPI, okay? And what EDPI is our sensitivity in game plus our mouse DPI. So say we're playing on 1200 DPI with our mouse and have an in-game sensitivity of 0.5, okay? 1200 times 0.5 equals 600, means we're playing at 600 EDPI. What we want to have that at is between 800 and 1200, okay? That's where most pro players are playing between, okay? It's fine if you go a little bit lower. I'd say anything lower than 600 is a no-go, and anything higher than 1400 is a no-go as well. But just try to get it into that range of 800 to 1200. If you're having trouble finding out what sensitivity works for you, I would consider checking out Aim Labs. They have a nice little feature that tests out your sensitivity and gives you the most accurate one for you. However, this is a paid feature. I think it costs around $10. So if you're really serious, try it out. If not, just mess around with sensitivity a little bit in game, play some deathmatch and see what works for you. The next setting we're getting into is our minimap. So if you look in the top left of my screen, you'll notice how my minimap is zoomed really far out. And how we do this is we go into our settings, if I can find them over here. What we do is go into game, radar, and we change our radar map zoom to about 0.35, okay? Now, this expands the map out so we can see basically the entire map no matter where we go, okay? And the reason this is better than having it zoomed in is that we can see where our teammates are, what potential gaps there might be around the map, and what potential flanking routes or plays we could make. This is a setting that's really going to improve your game sense by, like I just mentioned, having all those extra benefits. It doesn't seem like it matters that much, but trust me, it actually does, and I would recommend this change to everybody. This next setting is going to be a thing that a lot of new players for some reason resist, but again, it is completely worth it. What we want to do is bind each of our grenades to a specific key, so we're not just pressing or cycling through with our scroll wheel, okay? This really does matter as it allows you to quickly throw multiple grenades in succession. You're not doing any cycles, Obviously those grenades weren't accurate, but you get the point. I can throw them way faster than if I was just scrolling. So all that matters is that you can click these buttons fast. What I do is I have a super strike. So I have 2 mouse buttons. I have the top one bound to smoke, bottom one bound to flash, and then I have my C and V keys bound as well to my grenades. Whatever settings work for you, just have them bound to a specific key so you can do it fast. Going along with that, what we want to do is change our jump button. We also want to bind that to our scroll wheel, okay? And the reason we do scroll wheel is so we can just spam it as fast as possible. If you still want to have your spacebar bound, that is completely okay. All you have to do is open your console with a tilde key, type in this command, either bind mouse wheel up plus jump or bind mouse wheel down plus jump, and that is how you set the key binding. What I do is when I go around the map, if I just want to jump onto something like this, I use my spacebar. However, if I'm doing a skill jump like bunny hops, or I'm trying to do quick jumps in succession, you use your scroll wheel. This is just going to improve your movement, again, just by a little bit, but in the long run, this actually does matter. For the next setting, what we're going to do is change our sound settings. So head on over to your settings again, click on audio, and head down to the music section. What we want to do is lower these so we can barely hear them, if at all. I keep my MVP volume at a little bit so I can sing Life's Not Out to Get You every time I get an MVP. But you want to have these settings set so you can hear if there's any enemies around you when the round ends. I would keep the 10-second volume a little bit higher just so you can hear if you still have time to defuse the bomb. But other than that, you want to have everything else pretty low. For our last section, we're going to talk about our crosshair. And when making a crosshair, it's important to keep 3 things in mind. 1, we want to have it small, we want to have it static, and we want to have it bright. And I'll go through the reasons for each of them. So we want to keep it small for a big reason here. We want to make sure that when we're aiming at someone, we're actually aiming at them. When you have a large crosshair or gap in the crosshair, what's going to happen is sometimes it'll look like you're aiming at somebody, but in reality, you're actually not. And by making the crosshair smaller, it will just reduce the amount of times that actually happens. Also, if you have too thick of a crosshair, it's going to block part of your screen, and that's just not good. So the second one, we want to keep our crosshair static. So that just means the crosshair doesn't expand while we're shooting, and that just helps us be more accurate. There are some players that use dynamic crosshairs. However, I think the vast majority of people use static as it's just a little bit more easier. And the last one, bright. We want to make it bright just so we can see it across all of the maps. I think most players go with green or light blue. However, I go with pink. Doesn't really matter. As long as it works for you, you can test it out on all maps here. That's all that really matters here. I am going to have this map linked in the description, as you can test out all of the pro players' crosshairs along this wall here. And if you're looking for a new crosshair, you don't really know what works for you, come try these out. And yeah. When looking online for the settings and key bindings guides, you might notice a lot of pro players or streamers might have really weird settings. I think there's a Reddit post that goes around before every major where it shows Mezzy plays with mouse wheel, or his mouse click button is his walk forward, and there's I think a player that plays everything inverted. If you're one of those players that has weird key bindings, that's completely fine. A lot of you guys just have an older brother that played flight sim growing up, so you have just weird settings. That is completely okay. The big thing is that you have all these settings bound to a specific key, and you're not just using your scroll wheel for your weapons or using your scroll wheel for your grenades, that you have the ability to individually click on your grenades or your weapons. So if you have weird settings, again, completely fine. Just be able to use things individually. So if you learned anything in this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe for more CS tips every week. See you guys.